Hello, John.
Hello,
Hi.
Mandia.
Good afternoon. What's your time right now?
3:30 p.m.
So good afternoon. So it's 2 p.m. for me. So welcome everyone. So just write in a message if you can see us live so that we know tech is working fine. We are live and we can start it formally. So Jeff, just give me 1 minute. I'm just seeing the comments if we are live. So that do let us know people if we are live so that we can start the conversation. Welcome John Francois to Growth Mindset Conversations.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Welcome all my viewers today to Growth Mindset Conversations episode 26. And for all of you who are joining us live, you can write in your questions and comments in the comment box on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. It'll be great to know your point of view on the subject. It's a very interesting subject and close to Jeff and my heart, I'm sure. And if you have any questions, please write that too in the comment box. We will definitely answer your question, and I take responsibility of getting your question to Jeff, so he will definitely have the answer to your questions. Thank you, Leela, for your confirmation that you can see us live and. Let me introduce JF formally. Jean-Francois became a global executive coach in 2006 in the wake of career in management around the world with a Fortune 500 company. By January 2022, he had clocked in 14,000 coaching hours, served with 1,000 executives around the world, 35 countries, 5 continents. Amazing, JF, amazing. So, accredited as a master certified coach by International Coach Federation in 2012, JF coaches CEO, region and country presidents and board members, most often on executive leadership development, onboarding, role transition, organization and cultural change management, strategic planning, and cross cultural leadership. JF is also a speaker and a published author. He co authored 2 books promoting coaching and written Game Changers at the Circus about unleashing greatness in organizations with a coaching culture. JF also served as the chairman of Global Board of International Coach Federation in 2019. Welcome again, JF. I'm so happy to have you on my show.
Likewise, thanks for having me, Manbir. A pleasure.
Thank you so much, everyone, for again joining in. JF, this is how the show starts. The first question is about growth mindset because the show's name and it's everything about growth mindset, actually. So, my first question goes like, what is growth mindset for JF?
Ha. I think it's a mindset we have when we believe that we are a worthy work in progress, and that
Mm-hmm.
we can get better, and that uncertainty, crisis, challenges are opportunities that will get us better.
Wow. A brief definition, but very powerful definition. You said very powerful about words that we have always work in progress. We are worthy and always looking at problems, change, challenges as opportunities. Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. So going back to our topic, which is why leaders and executives should hire executive coaches in today's era. So there was a time, GF, when executive coaching was a luxury. It was only offered to some very senior and handful of leaders. So we have seen those times, right? Right now, a lot has changed. I see that, especially in this COVID era, corporate world landscape has totally changed. Times is very different, very different. In your experience, what are the top few reasons that leaders should hire executive coaches in the current times?
So, perhaps just before, why should they hire? I can share briefly the 9 current reasons why they hire executive coaches, right? Just the
Mm-hmm.
headlines, right? And for this, I will share them from an article I wrote for Forbes recently. Those 9 reasons at the moment are: first, I feel tired. The second is I'm overwhelmed by the ever growing number of expectations from me. The third one is I must adjust my strategy, but I'm unclear about opportunities and threats. And the fourth one is I want to create a compelling and sustainable culture of excellence. The fifth is I want to gain influence within our highly political matrix, particularly with our global functions that you find in multinational companies in particular. And six, I'm uncomfortable about announcing our drastic restructuring plan to my staff or any other, tough news, right? And another one at the moment is I'm told I have become difficult to work with. Then I wish to reflect about my career next steps, and that's current and that's been there forever in the job. Yeah, and finally, I need to ramble and make some sense with some independent thinking partners, shooting and challenging. And yeah, so those are the things at the moment. How can I stop sharing, Mambir?
No, you're not sharing.
Oh, I was not sharing
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
good. I was
So
just
yeah,
reading from my article. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so in essence, why should executives
Mm-hmm.
hire corporate coaches? You can guess from reading those headlines of what they do, right? Is basically to find out how they can lead when confronted with great uncertainty and so many things that they deplete their energy like never before. So uncertainty is one; it depletes their energy, right? But they can also question in the face of adversity. Are they going to be good enough, right? And so they've got to enhance their sense of self-worth, right? Update their self-awareness, and then adopt that growth mindset that will help them come out on top of the crisis and be the best they can be. So that's really important, and it will, at the core of it, it will embed in them the kind of energy that people love. And then they will have followers that are enthused by the quality of the energy and that they emanate, right? The second reason I would say, Manbir, is gain clarity in that very confused period. In fact, because without
Yeah,
the clarity
yeah.
about where they can go with their people, right? Then, well, obviously the journey will not start and nobody will be moving, right? So energy, clarity. Another thing is in this complex context, right? Nobody alone is smart enough to figure out the best way forward. Only collective intelligence can. And I would recommend that leaders hire coaches to find out how they can become a catalyst of collective intelligence in their organization. And so coaching will help them find out, but also the interaction with the coach are moments that catalyze collective intelligence, in fact. So they will see how it's done with coaching, and they will then use consciously or unconsciously the skills they pick up from their coach to be a catalyst of collective intelligence. And another reason I think is hire a coach to reflect about how they can trigger more agility in their organization, right? Because with the right type of energy in the organization, the right quality of collective intelligence, okay, collectively you are smarter than the competition. However, question remains, are you agile enough? Are you more agile than your competitors? Or do you come up with smarter ideas, but a bit too late, and then you don't take the share of the pie that you imagined you would take, right? So
Yeah,
those are
yeah,
just a few
yeah,
solid
absolutely.
reasons. Make sense, yeah?
Absolutely, absolutely. Gaining clarity is very important. And I love what you said, catalyst for collective intelligence. And collective intelligence is there, but are you actually using it as an executive and a leader? And coaching can really, really help them do that. Create moments where they can actually create that co-creation. They can actually become catalyst for collective intelligence. Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. So when we are saying that coaching can help in the certainties, it help them retain their energies, fill up their bring forth their best energies and lead the team in the most effective way. Catalyst for collective intelligence, you know. So it's an inside out. work, right, Jeff? It's an
Oh,
inside out work. So we start
yeah.
with inside and then it goes outside. So for the leaders right now, for the executive who are listening to this conversation, sometimes these words, sometimes these things look like jargons. Oh my God, what do I do? What next for me? So when they work with the coach, what changes for them? Where do it start? I'm sitting a little context here. Why I'm bringing in this question, JF, is many times people see, oh my God, yeah, it looks hunky dory, it looks very good, but I don't understand how do I reach there. I have learned so much. I have been Harvard trained, LBS trained. How do I actually make sense of it? So when they work with a coach, what changes and where does it start?
Yeah. So first they have this safe space to challenge themselves, in fact. So all good. They've studied at HBS or LBS or wherever, right?
Yeah.
And they may be in an environment where everybody tell them what they want to hear because they are the big leader and all that, right? But the truth is they are so very alone, right? And scared that perhaps they are some of how they are and what they do is outdated, in fact, right? So they've got this safe place where they can bring up their questions to themselves, right? And then propose answers, be challenged by the coach about those answers and what more they could answer, right? And so, what the first step they do is they update really their awareness of who they are as a leader, where are their real strengths, where are areas for development, and also perhaps parts of themselves that they should really work on to become better, right? If they don't believe they can be better, then they should not waste a coach time and they waste their own precious time in work with coaches, right? Coaches work for people who have potential, and they really need to have a sense that they have some potential. If they think they are best in the world at everything they do, okay, save your time. Yeah. So there is this work on updating their self-awareness and then setting out a roadmap for them to grow, in fact, in a way that will make them happier, even more successful, and also form shape a legacy that they can be proud of when they retire later on, and that also people can remember and cherish, in fact, right? So it's a
Yeah.
roadmap
Yeah.
for the longer term. In fact, in coaching, we don't just talk and work on the challenges of the moment. We really partner with the client, right, to figure out what's the best way to embrace all the many years ahead in their career, in fact, and their life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we go deeper. And very beautifully, I think you bring in a point of coachability. That
yeah,
client, an executive or a leader has to be coachable. So I would love to, have your view on coachability. But before that, there are a couple of questions, Jeff. I would like to ask you if you're okay with that.
please, yeah.
Yeah, so we have some audience questions. So Leela has a question that what might be some of the ways as a coach you would recommend leaders and coaches to follow with respect to agility and collective intelligence?
Yeah, so thanks, Lila, for such an important question. So let's be super practical. First, to trigger agility and collective intelligence, leaders must role model authenticity, humility, and vulnerability. To one, give permission to their guys to also be authentic, humble, and vulnerable. And then conversations are very rich because nobody is holding back. That's part one. And also being authentic, humble, and vulnerable, sorry, is saying at time, hey guys, I don't know, I'm your boss, but I don't know, this is complicated alone. I can't figure out the way. So I'd love to hear your insights. And then automatically people are kind of programmed to jump in and help. Hey boss, how about this idea? Right. So tactically, those three features, authenticity, vulnerability, and humility, are so smart, right? Number two, um, embed in everybody's mind, in the people they lead mind, right? The idea that bringing out your best, okay, it's a bronze medal, but in the Olympics, the silver goes for bringing your best as a team member and helping others bring out their best. That's silver, way better than just bringing your best. Gold goes for bringing your best, bringing your others' best, helping others bring their best, right? And help out, bring out the team's best. And that's through interventions such as noticing that some people in the team are not involved and questioning what needs to change in the dynamic so they contribute more, or perhaps noticing that there is an elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about, and say, hey, how about we talk about this in a safe way, right? So those are practical ways, right? Two, one, authenticity, humility, vulnerability, and two, bring out your best, help others bring out their best, and help the team bring out its best, right? And then you get collective intelligence and you get agility. And by the
Thank
way,
you.
those two features, right, are absolutely what coaches do when they coach people. They are authentic, humble, and vulnerable, and they help people bring out their best individually and collectively.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Leela, for posting that question. That's a very interesting question. And Jeff, when you're explaining this, when you're answering this question, I think it very much it also ties to coachability, where we kind of stopped earlier. So, what a couple of ways the leaders or executives who are listening to this conversation, who are watching this conversation, would know that they are coachable?
So one is if they believe there are things they want to get better at that are really worth it. Yeah. Another thing to check is, am I ready to just having fully honest a conversation with a coach, bring out everything about my doubts, my lack of clarity, my weaknesses, and they'll get a sense of that when they speak with coaches, right? In those
Yeah.
chemistry sessions that we have, right? Those are free of charge. So if some of you leaders think, perhaps I could try at coaching, because after all, I think I can be better. I can do better. I want clarity about my future. I want to create my future, basically. Go out there, meet some coaches. And if you feel, yeah, you can be yourself, you can be humble, you can bring everything that's on your mind with that person in the very tight tight confidentiality that surrounds coaching conversation, then go meet them and maybe you'll find that, yeah, one of them is going to be a great partner for your further growth.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. And I also would like to add, when you have your chemistry meeting with your coach, you can ask another examples that, how your coach has helped similar cases, so that will also help you to expand that what is possible in that
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so there's another comment, very interesting comment here, that I think most leaders are coachable provided they work with the right coach. Thank you so much. I think these points are can be debatable, and we can agree, disagree. But yeah, that's a very interesting observation. Thank you so much for sharing that on
Yeah, and I
observation.
totally agree with Francoise. In my experience as well, most leaders are coachable, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you. So we have another question, but that's from coach perspective. So we'll come to that question, before after this question. So because we are going towards that corporate coaching, executive coaching, and then why executive should be hiring executive and leadership coaches right now in current scenario. So when this demand is rising, actually after this COVID, I've seen demand has risen actually, and there are also discussions with the HR business leaders in that fraternity, that how do they measure the value. So what do you suggest, GF, that how can HR, L&D leaders, how can they measure ROI on their coaching investment?
So my experience is the best measurement of progress is obtained through conversations with stakeholders, in fact, right? Who've
I
been
love that.
involved in the coaching, right? So there are objectives in coaching. It's a very result-driven discipline, right?
Yeah.
And so the objectives are typically validated by the manager of the leader who is coached, right? And then at the end, well, at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end of the coaching engagement, the manager and the coachee and the coach coach discuss the progress, right, that has been made, and a summary of this can be provided to HR by the coachee, not by the coach, by the way, because the coach is forbidden to do so by the rules of confidentiality, in fact, right? But that, in my experience, is really good. And also, HR can go out there and gather feedback from other stakeholders, in fact, and then they really have rich feedback. I would recommend verbal interviews rather than written
Yeah,
feedback, in fact, because people have more time to think about what they've really seen change, in fact.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, just also perhaps a lesson from experience, right? Typically, our HR partners will be very intent on measuring progress at the beginning, right? And I've very rarely seen them coming back to really measure after the work is done because the progress was obvious.
yeah.
But
That
that's just
speaks.
my experience, right? But hardly anybody ever measured anything after I've done more than 1,400 coaching engagements. I'm not sure if more than five gave had a measurement at the end. That's just my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I use that verbal 360-degree all the time. I think stakeholder feedback is one of the most relevant and efficient methods of measuring ROI. Yeah, thank you so much for driving that point. So we have one more question from PT Sundaram. So he's talking from the coach perspective. He's asking the question that what three challenges a coach faces in work from home culture?
Ah, actually, Piti Sundaram, thanks for the question. I'm not equipped to answer that one. I'm sorry, because I've been working remotely for more than 15 years, in fact, right? Yeah, perhaps Manbir, you have some ideas.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I would say my experience, I have been working in hybrid since ages, since last 10 years, it's a hybrid format. Why? Because executives travel a lot. So, but previously, my couple of first few sessions were always in presence, never used to be virtually totally, at least one or two first sessions. But now that has changed. So I think repo building has changed because when you are doing a session in present, you're having a coffee together before the session. You spend those 10-15 minutes in the cafeteria before you get into a cabin for coaching. So kind of that repo building, I miss that repo building. So I think that has changed. And also, now it's one-to-one coaching when you're working with, in my experience, when now we have a executive coaching conversation, it's only with that coachee. But previously, when we used to go to this corporate offices, we used to say hello to HR people or L&T stakeholder. So it was kind of again water cooler kind of a conversation with other stakeholders, and that was not a formal feedback conversation, but still you tend to talk on a lot of things, what's happening in the organization, what's happening around the culture of the organization. So those kind of things are not available. Having said that, there are a lot of pros in virtual coaching environment, I guess. Work from home, not challenges, it's a positive that now wherever they travel, whatever they do, so they are not skipping the session. And people are, and time management for coaches, I think, have become very very easy, because you log in at 10, you log out at 11. It's not like, you go at 10, you have coffee, start session at 10:15. So those kind of, those timing, variable timing, are not there. So I hope I was able to answer your question to some extent, PT Sundaram. So
And if
with
I may
that, Jeff,
if I
yeah,
may add,
please.
yeah, just very briefly to PT Sandaram, right? Be confident. This COVID crisis that forced remote work also forced all remote coaching, right? And that is has proven to be a fantastic growth lever for the profession. In fact, another good
Yeah,
news of this COVID crisis is it established how helpful coaching coaching is to enhance the mental health of leaders, in fact, right? So coaching happens to grow a lot faster than before as an industry, thanks to this COVID situation we've all endured with all of its bad sides.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now we are coming towards the end of the conversation. So, any other advice for executives on this topic of hiring an executive coach?
Yeah, things perhaps you can reflect about with your coach. You can refer to my article on Forbes. Perhaps we can put
Yeah,
that on the various
yeah,
social
we
media,
will.
right?
Yeah,
Because then you will have an idea of what happens when you work on I feel tired or I feel overwhelmed or whatever. One thing you can work with your coach is gain clarity on what matters most to you, those who matter to you, and your future at the beginning, right? It's always a clarity that's very helpful to gain, right? Also, find out how you can enhance the energy, the collective intelligence, the agility in the organizations or the divisions, the departments that you lead, right? Because that energy, collective intelligence, and agility are the most precious currencies for the future of your business, right? And also perhaps make sure you check with your coach if you are doing the best when you take care of yourself. And if it's not the case, what more can you do so that you take the best care of yourself?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And remember, all of you, executives and leader, it starts from you. It starts from you and inside of you. It starts from your core. Yeah. Thank you. That's that beautiful, awesome words of wisdom. So we have another question. Briefly, if you could answer, JF, as we wind up the show. So again, from coach perspective, Sunil Kango is asking, do you suggest how frequently leaders should seek feedback from the coach?
Oh, so thanks for the question. Actually, leaders get feedback from their coach almost all the time in the forms of questions, right? Typically, the coach will say, could you please explain more about this to me? I failed to understand clearly that, or I'd love to have a sense, get a sense with you about the impact of what you were describing, you did, right, on various stakeholders, in fact, right? So that's the way coaches give feedback, in fact, to leaders, right?
Yeah,
It's absolutely
yeah,
not judgmental. It's partnering with them so they unleash even more of their of what they know consciously or not consciously, in fact, right? So the coach will never be judgmental because that would break the safe space of the coaching, and that would hinder leaders to play the game 100%. Plus, coaches are not there to judge at all. Who are they to judge, right? They're there to
absolutely.
help the leaders unleash more of their inner brilliance and wisdom, and judgment is absolutely not in the conversation. Thanks very much for
Yeah.
this important question.
Yeah, thank you so much for that's a beautiful answer. Thank you, JF, for this much needed discussion. I really loved the energy. I really loved all the question and the great insight you created for all of us today. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the great question as well. And thanks, Manby, for making this happen. It's so cool.
Thank you. I'm sure everyone who's watching and listening to this show has benefited from the words of wisdom shared by you today. We all know that all what has come today, which is from the great experience you have in the industry, in depth experience. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live. And if you're watching this as a recording, thanks to you too. Hope this session was useful to you. See you all again in the next episode of Growth Mindset Conversation, another LinkedIn Live. See you soon. Thank you and all the very best. Thank you, JF. Bye bye.
Thanks, Manby. Bye bye.